Hey guys, it's Thomas with Puddle Jumper Adventures here. That was a great intro by our 7-year-old at Effigy Mounds here in Iowa. Here we are pulling up to the visitor center. This has been on one of our bucket lists for a while. Mine personally, for a long time. I've always wanted to come to Effigy Mounds, check out the historical dioramas and collections that they've found over the years, and then check out all the cool things that our ancestors have done. Anyways, here we are walking up to the visitor center. We're going to be checking it out, getting our junior ranger stuff, getting our unigrid map, and all the other stuff that we collect from a store, our stickers and magnet and stuff like that. So Effigy Mounds has on our list today. We had two trails that we really wanted to hit. We wanted to get to the Yellow River Boardwalk and then the Fire Point Loop. They do also have the Marching Bear trail. That's the one that's on the unit that's kind of separated from the visitor center, but it's a little bit more, I think it's rated as moderate to hard. The first 500 feet is pretty much straight going up pretty much, and with the other two hikes, they were a pretty good challenge for us that day. So this visitor center was great. There's a lot of interactive displays, a lot of historical items, a lot of Native American history and explanations on how they were living and how they did things and why they did things. So they had a really cool diorama here showing the landscape and river and all that stuff. So and then the kids were able to play with little things that were collected around the area, like antlers and stuff like that. So very cool. Their gift shop was actually pretty cool too. They had a lot of variety of stuff. That's one thing that impresses me about these national park stores is you don't necessarily find the same things just made with a different name on it. We found some things at one place and you go to another place and there's a completely different list of items. So, but here we are, we're walking through. This is sort of like the interactive display. There's actual artifacts that have been collected from the area, and we just kind of walk through and reading all the things. This is actually an atlatl, and what's really cool about this is we didn't know, but when we're coming back from our Yellow River Boardwalk, we're actually going to get to partake in actually using an atlatl. So that's very cool. That's something we're going to show here in just a little bit. It was very awesome. But yeah, very, very cool visitor center. I mean, just look at all these displays. They explain, how they, were able to gather food and what items they had to use for the area and stuff like that. And my daughter is really interested in this display that's coming around the corner here. So let's see what she wants help with.
Hey Dad, I need you to help me with something.
You need my help with something? Okay, I'm coming over.
What does it say?
It says, connections to the sun. The people who built the mounds held gatherings celebrating the transitions of seasons. These gatherings are still held to this day.
Oh.
As parents, we just love it when our kids are actually, finding the things that we are doing interesting. And I just love it that our kids ask us, the simple things of hey, can you help me with this? And then it's just simply reading, what's going on with it. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Because that's part of the reason why we do this. It's fun to go find out this new information. And I just love that our kids are sharing in our fascination with these trips and stuff. But this is the other side of that atrium area, and when you walk inside of here, you get a better view of the items that they have collected. And honestly, I went back in. This is where you can leave your family name and where you're from and stuff. But here's the Yellow River Bridge Trail. You go under this highway here, so this tunnel goes under the highway, And this trail is very easy. It's 0.8 miles out and back. I think the Park Service says 1 mile. All Trail says 0.8. So depends on, I guess, how much further you go in past the trail end. But very easy. Look, there's a boardwalk. It goes all the way through. Kids loved it. We didn't really see too much wildlife. I think we saw like a squirrel or two. But very scenic. You kind of walk through like a swampy area, and then there's a river that you cross, and then you come to the end of the trail, and you turn right back around from it. So, but very very cool trail. One of the things that we're going to be getting ready to see here pretty soon is where the trail crosses the river. There is a bridge that goes across it, and there were some youths, some boys, that were jumping off the bridge into the river, and not sure if it was allowed or not. We were just kind of walking through and being like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. How deep was it? And they told us it was like 10 to 14 feet deep, depending on where you jumped in at. But here they are, just jumping off the bridge, and it was very cool. I thought it was kind of intriguing to watch. You know, you don't really see too many people jumping off bridges in person, anyways. You see them on YouTube and stuff like that. So, but here we are, finishing walking across. Right up ahead is just the end. It's kind of like a viewpoint and stuff. But I do know that like a lot of people go on this trail because there's a lot of opportunities to see some birds that you normally wouldn't see. Because if you look to the right, that river actually leads back to the Mississippi River. So this area is part of the Mississippi. So it drains from the Mississippi, and this is like one of those tributaries where it comes from there. So I'm sure there's more wildlife there than what we recognize. So, but otherwise, very easy trail. It's probably the easiest trail here at Effigy Mounds. Compared to the others that are on site, but kids definitely loved it because you were able to walk along and just kind of take in the scenery. So, but yeah, no, I'm sure there's a bunch of animals that we can't see. You know, maybe some deer hiding out, bass swimming around. I think me and Bryson were talking about what kind of fish we'd be able to catch out of there because. Being this close to Mississippi, it's probably got some pretty decent sized bass hanging out in there. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking for a little bit here. We're going to play a little bit of music so that way you can enjoy all this beautiful scenery for just a minute or two until we get back to the visitor center, where we're going to partake in a ranger talk. And I highly encourage you to stick around for that because it was really cool. So. So on our way back to the visitor center, because we were going to start one of the other trails that are here, we actually got invited to a ranger session. Our ranger talked. Ranger was walking out with another group, and he said, "Hey, you guys are more welcome to join us. I'm going to be going over how to use an atlatl." And here is where Bryson had his first attempt with the atlatl, throwing. It's like a spear, and then you put it in the the holder, and then you kind of fling it as best
The
as you
atlatl
can. So
has a few different components to it.
it was very
You
cool.
have the handle right here. Now this atlatl has a counterweight known as a batter stone. So what this does is it helps balance the atlatl in the lever here, and also it helps push the spear forward. And then at the end, we have a little nub. This nub could be, say, a tooth or maybe a whittled out bone. Now, on the end of the spear, you're going to see where there's a dimple right here. This is in woodworking, we would call this kind of a joint right here. We call this a mortise and tenon type jointery here. Let's talk a little bit about the spear here. So on the spear, we have the feathers on the end here. These help guide the spear and make it go nice and straight. We have typically about a 6-foot spear, so you guys can tell that. So I'm about 5'9". Oh wait, hold on. The hat adds a few inches. So I'm about 5'9", so you can see about how tall the spear is compared to me. Let me get the hat back on here. All right. So this is about the ideal length of a spear. We want about 6-ish feet. Now on the ends of these spears, the wood is just merely pointed at the end here, but what the Woodlands people would do here is they would get chert. Now you guys from the group earlier remember chert, right? The rock you could break away. So for you guys who just joined us here, chert is a sedimentary rock, very commonly found in this area. And it's made up of mostly silica dioxide. And silica dioxide is the same ingredient we have in glass. So if you chip away at chert, you get sharp edges just like we have in glass. And that's what they would make the point out of here, is chert. Okay, so let me show you guys just how effective the atlatl is. I'm going to use about the same amount of strength to throw this arrow, and I'm going to use the atlatl to throw a very similar arrow. So check this out. I get a pretty good distance, but the issue is most large game is not going to get that close to it. Also, the overall goal is to basically get the large game down. So that's also not going to be impactful enough to get the large game down either. Now what the Woodlands people would do, they were hunters and gatherers. Oh, did you have a question? Okay. They were hunters and gatherers, and so what they would do is they would oftentimes run the big game down. So they would use the atlatl in conjunction with that, because one of these spears would not be enough to take down a white-tailed deer. But running it down, and multiple spears could take down the white-tailed deer. So let me just show you just how far this can go.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Oh.
So, thank you. So you can see just how much of an advantage that this has by just extending our arm out. So this is basically nothing more than physics. All right, so the other cool thing that I also like to point out here is that despite being it that far, even up close, it's gonna pack that much more of a hit to, oops, don't throw the atlatl there. It's going to pack that much more of a hit to the animal, therefore also being able to bring it down as well. Who would like to try the atlatl? All right, we got some contestants up here.
As always, we really enjoyed this Ranger Talk. Whenever we get a chance, we attend our Ranger Talks just because they are very informative. And as you can see, our kids were paying a lot of attention to it because it was interactive and very informational. And it was really cool. And the kids and I had a lot of fun participating in it, and we really enjoyed it. But here we are. We're getting ready to do the fire point loop. Now, I have a history of underestimating trails and their difficulties. And up to this point, this one... after we did this one, it went to my first place for probably one of the hardest trails. There are some switchbacks at the beginning that, to the unseasoned hiker, are very strenuous. So the beginning of this trail is very strenuous. And here we are looking at one of the mounds that, this is a group of 3 mounds at the very beginning, just right by the visitor center too. But then after here is where the pain begins, going up the switchbacks, but it was actually pretty cool. My wife's looking at me incredulously because they weren't that bad for them. I don't like switchbacks. And they weren't that bad. I, just slow and steady wins the race. Take a break when you need to, and then keep going. So that's what I did. And the best thing is when you go up, you have to come back down. Coming back down was a lot easier than going up. But here we are. We're just going up the switchbacks. I think it said something about 300 feet of elevation gain or something like that for this, and it is rated as moderate to hard for this hike. But once you get to the top of these switchbacks where this like cliff area is, there are tons of mounds that Native Americans have built, and they're in the shape of bears. And I think there's some like other animals too, but mainly of the bears. And I think the National Park Service has done a really good job of, making this accessible to the public. As you can see, the trails fairly cleared off. I mean, obviously there's chances of poison ivy and all that stuff, so you gotta kind of be mindful of that and make sure your kids aren't getting close to some of those plants. But our kids do a good job of that. And but anyway, so we're going up the hill, and they do have a lot of markers, a lot of areas that you can stop and rest. There are some benches and stuff for you to rest. So, but yeah, it's a very, very rewarding trail once you get to the top. I'm not going to keep yakking on about these trails while it's showing you the video of it, but a few final thoughts on these trails. Just take your time on them, especially on those switchbacks. They had plenty of resting spots, like I was saying earlier. They even had some benches when you get towards the top, so you can take a break and stuff. Bring plenty of water. I know those are things that everybody should be doing, but this one especially, because it does take a little bit of a climb. And my wife had a really cool idea with the GoPro, putting it on one of the poles and trying to hold it up as high as she could, because like when you're looking at it from ground level, you can see the shapes of the animals. So I'm not downplaying that. But to get like an aerial view of it, obviously we can't use drones and stuff like that, because first of all, that would be a mess with hundreds of people trying to use drones all at the same time. But she just kind of put it on her pole, and it gave us like 8 feet of height elevation gain, so that way you could kind of get a little bit better view of it. So I thought that was really neat, especially going forward when we're looking at some things. So obviously we're not professional YouTubers. We just want to, document our journey, share our adventures with everybody, hopefully inspire some people to think, hey, you know what? They're doing it. Let's go do it too. Take our kids with us, get out, check out all these cool things that are either really close or really far away. But other than that, I would appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe. Drop a comment, let us know if there's something else that we can add, maybe some information that you need from it, because obviously we've been here, so if you're planning on going there, what other things would you like to know? I know one of the things that, we didn't do the other hike that's on the south unit. That's the Marching Bear Trail. I do have plans on some point coming back and doing that one, but it's a little bit more strenuous. So, but enjoy the rest of our hike. It's really, really nice place to go to. Hopefully, if you get the chance, you go check it out. Just make sure you like and subscribe so you can see what other adventures we go on. This is Thomas checking out.